Hello everyone, myself Michael Ravina, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering. The subject is CS 3492 Database Management Systems. The unit is Advanced Topics. And the topics are Statistical Database Security and Flow Control. Statistical database security. Statistical databases are used mainly to produce statistics about various populations. The database may contain confidential data about individuals, which should be protected from user access. However, users are permitted to retrieve statistical information about the population such as averages, sum, count, maximum, minimum and standard deviation. The technique have been developed to protect the privacy of the individual information or beyond the scope of this. The statistical database security techniques must prohibit the retrieval of individual data. This can be achieved by prohibiting the queries that retrieve data attribute values and by allowing only queries that involve statistical aggregate functions such as count, sum, max, minim, average and standard deviation. Such queries are sometimes called statistical queries. It is a responsibility of a database management system to ensure the confidentiality of information about individuals while still providing useful statistical summaries of data about those individuals to users. Provision of privacy protection of users in a statistical database is paramount. Its violation is illustrated in the following figure. In some cases, it is possible to infer the individual tuples from the sequence of statistical queries. This is particularly true when the conditions result in a population consisting of a small number of tuples. The possibility of accessing individual information from statistical queries reduced by the following measures. First one is the partitioning of database. This means the records of database must be not be stored at the bulk in a single record. It must be divided into groups and some minimum size according to the confidentiality of record. The advantages of partitioning of database is queries can refer to any complete group or any set of groups, but queries cannot access the subsets of record within a group. So, attacker can access at most one or more two groups which are less private. If no statistical queries are permitted, whenever the number of tuples in a population specified by selection condition falls below some threshold value. Next one is the flow control. The flow control regulates the distribution or flow of information among accessible objects. A flow between objects X and object Y occurs when a program reads values from X and writes values into Y. Flow control check that information contained in some object does not flow explicitly or implicitly into a less protected object. Thus, a user cannot get indirectly in Y what he or she cannot get directly in X. Active flow control began in the early of 1970s. Most of flow control employs some concept of security classes. Examples of flow control includes preventing a service program from leaking a customer's confidential data and blocking of the transmission of secret military data to an unknown classified users. A flow policy specifies the channels along with each which information is allowed to move. The simplest flow policy just two classes of information, confidential and non-confidential. and allows all flows except those class C to class N. This policy can solve the confinement problem that arises when a service program handles data such as customer information, some of which may be confidential. Access control mechanisms are responsible for checking user authorizations for resource access. Only granted operations are executed. Flow controls can be enforced by an extended access control mechanism which involves assigning a security class to each running program. Two types of flow can be distinguished. First one is the explicit flow, then second one is the implicit flow. Explicit flow occurring a consequence of assignment instructions such as y equal to f of x1 comma xn. An implicit flow generated by the conditional instructions such as if f of m plus 1 comma then tends to xn, then y equal to f of x1 comma xm. Covered channel. A covered channel allows a transfer of information that violates the security or the policy. Specifically, covered channel allows information to pass from a higher classification level to a lower classification level through improper means. Covered channel can be classified into two broad categories. First one is the timing channel and storage. The distinguishing feature between the two is that is the timing channel, the information is conveyed by timing event or processes, whereas storage channels do not require any temporal synchronization. That is, information is conveyed by accessing the information or what is otherwise inaccessible to the user.